What's up, guys? Nate here with Over at Racing Co. coming at you with another video. So we're continuing on with the Mustang restoration here, and we've gotten a lot of stuff done since the last time you've seen the car. Just to give you a quick little shot here. Ooh-wee! Oh, hello. Motor's looking pretty good. Obviously, we still have some stuff missing here, but we're getting closer and closer to getting this car running and driving again. So pretty excited about that. Do still have stuff we need to do, but we'll get into that later. What I mainly want to focus on in this episode is getting the fuel system done. Now, got some stuff we got to do. We have to replace the fuel line under the car. We have to drop the tank, change the tank and the sending unit, and swap over some stuff. But we'll talk about why we're doing that and how we're going to do it. So let's get into it. So the reason we're going to be replacing the fuel system on the car is mainly, one, this tank right here. So this is a 12-gallon tank. I got it used from some guy on Facebook Marketplace, whatever. It's fine. I welded a sump to it, and my buddy helped me out with this a while back. We did the best we could, but using a flux core welder for something that needs to be watertight, or fuel tight, I guess, it just wasn't the best route, so it did have leaks. So what I would do is go around it with some JB Weld, and it would stop leaking for a while till the ethanol ate through it. As you can see, it's even like a little moist there. So instead of, trying to keep remedying this constant problem, we'll just start from scratch. So this time around, we have a brand new fuel tank and a brand new sending unit. Now, the reason I'm replacing the sending unit, even though I've replaced it already with a LMR unit like 6 years ago, is for whatever reason, the gas gauge stopped going over 3/4 of tank. It just wouldn't go any further than that. Not sure what the problem was, but hopefully it is just a sending unit issue. I'm not really blaming anybody. It's just stuff happens, So got our new one here. It's like $50 off Rock Auto. As you see, just single pickup for a carbed application. No big deal. Comes with a new seal, new lock ring, and we have our new tank. It's a Dorman tank for a carbureted application. This is the 15.4-gallon tank. Now, the farthest I went in this car on one tank of gas was 220 something miles, and that was like kind of pushing it. Needle was below E. So that was with the 12-gallon tank. So we'll get a little bit more range on this tank here. Also, we'll see how our mileage changes now that we have our new carburetor. But again, we'll get into that later. So yeah, new tank, new sending unit, new line. Now, this car originally, well, not originally, I installed 3/8 fuel line on this car because I, for the longest time, thought that's what the factory size was. It's actually not. The factory size is 5/16, and I upgraded to 3/8, and it's never given me any issues. But from what I'm seeing on forums and stuff, it'd be a lot easier and make more sense if I just went back to the stock 5/16 size. Obviously, it was fine enough for a fairly stock application. Now, you can benefit from having bigger fuel line, but I'm not making 600 horse. It'll do just fine. So the stock fuel pump is plumbed for 5/16. Pump to the carb is plumbed for 5/16. It's how it's always been. So I don't think it's really going to hurt anything, if we go back to the stock size now. But yeah, so let's get into unboxing some stuff and see what we can get into. You already know that one of the best things about ordering stuff from Rock Auto is sometimes you get a nifty magnet with your order. Ooh. Oh. Ooh. Okay, we got a Gen 1 Honda Civic. Ooh, with the Koenig rewinds. Nice. Let's go add this to the collection. There it is. Look how many of my monies Rock Auto has taken over the years. Oh, hi. Oh, hi. Bub kiss. All right, so the first thing we need to do is get the tank out of the car. So let's get into it. Man, I doubt the gas that's in it's probably any good now. I doubt it. All right, so got the old tank sitting over here. I pulled the top pieces out. So this was a EFI tank, and fortunately it had the pump still in it. So all I did was cut the lines off and then JB weld the hole shut, which worked fine. This actually didn't leak. The O-ring that was in it was a little stretched and flattened. So what I ended up doing was actually just filling the cavity with JB Weld, setting the O-ring on top, and then putting the lock ring on. It actually worked out okay. This tank's junk. Spectra Premium. So this is actually a replacement tank. This isn't an OEM tank either. Interesting. But you'll see what I'm talking about here. There's some gas in it. Is what I mean by a 12-gallon tank is it's got this hump in it. I'm assuming, I think the 4-cylinder cars had the smaller tank, and the V8 cars had the bigger tank. Look how pretty this thing is. I've never bought a new fuel tank ever in my life. This is the first time. But it looks so good. Look, the corners aren't bent. Oh. Okay, so they actually do away with this tab here. That's actually kind of neat. Huh. Interesting. But, so yeah, with the carved application, there's no hole here. It's just blank. And you get your sending unit and your vent valve. It's like a one-way check valve thing. This thing is so nice. It doesn't stink. There's no gas in it yet. Looks like she got a little scuff, but it's all right. $100 is what this cost me on Rock Auto. I really can't complain. Wait a minute. Somebody lied to me here. This was supposed to be the 15-gallon. Huh. Weird. I mean, what? I think somebody died. I don't know. But what is that? 12A. I don't know. All right. I'm a little sick about that because I was hoping to have a slightly bigger fuel tank. But I mean, I guess it is what it is. I'm really not going to throw a fit over 3 gallons. This will still be fine. And it's new, and it was dirt cheap, so it is what it is. This is the only one I could find on Rock Auto from Dorman. They had 2 different ones. One was the carb tank. One was the fuel-injected tank, so it had the 2 holes for the pump and sending unit. Huh. All right, let me do a little research here and figure this out. So I did some investigating here. So everything I'm seeing online, this is a 15.4 gallon tank. I'm just a little thrown off because the tank that was originally in this car didn't have that relief. So I don't know if there was a revision throughout the years, but that shouldn't be there. Everyone says it's a 15.4. I don't know. I'm just trying to think, why would that relief need to be there? You know? It doesn't make sense. Oh. It might be for the differential. I didn't think about that because I had to clearance the spare tire well for the diff on this rear end here. Huh. I wonder if that's it. If it was just a relief for the diff. Maybe it is a 15.4. That would make sense. I mean, it's dead center on the tank. Well, it's a little offset, but it's because of the way the tank sits under the car. So yeah, I could see that. That makes sense. So we'll just assume that I've had the correct tank this whole time. Another thing real quick I noticed, this is my old sending unit. I ordered off LMR 6 years ago. This is my new replacement one I got off Rock Auto. This is a Lilland Global unit. It's like $56. You tell me. You see any differences? I don't. So, same tube position, right? Which should be the same no matter who makes it. But same assembly methods, same contacts, same connectors, same color wire, same caps for the return port. You can see it's all wound the same way. Same float-like mechanism here, all encased. stainless. All encased, stainless. Same socks, same float slop, same floats, same washers. That actually that one is different. Wow, that float moves a lot. This could be part of our problem with the ascending unit acting up, but I'm fairly confident in saying that these are the same part, which tells me, because this is the second time I've seen this with this car now. So what this tells me is LMR doesn't have or manufacture all their replacement components in-house. They outsource from different companies and then retag it as their product, and they mark it up. Because the first time I've seen this, I don't know if y'all remember this, was with the brake booster here. Now, the LMR one, you could buy the booster itself. Excuse me. They advertised it as having the adjustable push rod for the booster. So you could put whatever master cylinder you wanted on the car and it would work with that booster, which is cool. Me running the 93 booster with the 93 master, figure I don't need the adjustable push rod. I'll just order the parts from Rock Auto and it'll be fine. The SKP branded booster, it's a new, not remanufactured unit, has the adjustable push rod. So, in my opinion, to me, it looks like LMR. Some of the stuff they probably remake in-house, but for other things, they outsource and re-sticker it. That's what I'm noticing. Interesting. Another thing, when you're doing stuff like this, you want to obviously compare different components you have, but you want to make sure that the parts you need to reuse are in good condition, such as your filler net grommet right here. If you haven't replaced it yet and you're doing a new tank, it's probably a good time to do it. I replaced this one a couple years back. It's still really soft and malleable. No dry rot, no cuts, nothing like that. So we'll be able to reuse this just fine. Another thing you want to check, as you can see, I just have mine vented to atmosphere because whatever. You want to check your rollover valve, as some people call it. So basically, this has a little check ball in it. It might be a spring, I don't know. But when the car is driving and operating under normal conditions, this valve is open, allowing, if you had all your original evap equipment, allowing the fuel tank to vent as it's supposed to be, designed by the manufacturer. But in the event of a rollover, all the fuel is now in the top of the tank. So what this does is when it's upside down, the little check ball in there closes this valve off and fuel can't get out anymore. So essentially keeping your fuel tank from flooding multiple things in the car, as well as leaking out of the tank and possibly starting a fire. So good thing to inspect and check again when you're comparing things. I do need to get a new tank cover because obviously I modified mine to accommodate the sump and the return line I had plumbed in to add on later. This car does have a deadhead style fuel system. If you don't know what that is, there's basically just no fuel return going back into the tank. It's just to the carb, and that's all it is. That's all it gets. And it's worked pretty well so far. I haven't had any like vapor lock issues or anything like that. Anything fuel system related. I had a hot start issue, but that was just because the carb would get so hot that the fuel would basically start boiling over in the bowls and it would start flooding and empty itself out. But with the new carburetor and everything, we shouldn't have that problem. But I don't want to mess up a good thing. Everything's been working fine. So we'll just go back to the stock style deadhead system and call it a day. I also need to clean up these straps because they're pretty nasty. They're new straps and everything, and I painted them and whatnot, but gear oil, gasoline, dirt, paint, all that stuff has made its way onto them, so we'll give those a quick cleanup as well. I do also need to pick up more fuel line. I'm just going to buy a roll of 5/16 and bend it all myself. Now, one thing to note, these cars from the factory, the fuel line goes on the passenger side of the car. So it kind of snakes along the floor of the car, right? Goes down the trans tunnel, loops over the trans tunnel, back out the driver's side to where it goes up to the pump on the motor. So I don't like that. I don't like having the fuel line cross over the drive shaft in the event of a failure. So I'm gonna route it to where the line goes to the driver's side from the back of the car, so we have less zigzags and movements and whatnot. So yeah, that's the initial plan. So I'm gonna try and get some stuff tomorrow, and this weekend I'll try and get that cover for the bottom of the tank, and I'll get back to you guys when we have everything we need. And so I've been up and at it working on the Mustang. So I got the new 5/16 fuel line all ran. It actually tucks behind that frame rail right there, and you can see where it comes back out. And then it's got a union here because the line's sectioned. So I have the front section from the pump, so basically in front of the start of the frame rail here, and then goes all the way back over, and then back where it's got another union to the back of the car. I also have the fuel tank reinstalled here. As you can see, there is no cover because for whatever reason it is impossible to find a cover right now. Everyone's out of stock, and a new one's about $150, and the local junkyards just started cutting the tanks out of the cars when they get them, so I can't even find one at the local junkyard anymore. So kind of a bummer, but in the meantime, we'll just run it like this. It should be fine without it. I can't see any reason other than smoking a parking block as to why this would be sketchy. But yeah, so fuel system is now complete. Tank's in, everything's hooked up, fuel line's in, everything's nice and snug and tight. So you can actually see I got the line on the outside of the frame rail here, so it can stay away from the heat as much as possible until it comes down underneath the frame rail here and goes to the fuel pump. So yeah, simple, easy setup here. I'm gonna try and get this thing fired up and running tonight. We'll see how that goes. So we got our new coolant hoses on here, motors in, all dressed up. Got a radiator back in here with our homemade cooling fan brackets. Yeah, it'll be rather interesting. So the goal is to get this thing filled up with coolant and completely burp the system, as well as verify that our fuel system is good and there's no leaks and no coolant leaks as well. So yeah, with that being said, let's run to the gas station real quick, get some fluids, and see what we get. All right, so I just got back from the gas station, picked up some fuel and some coolant. 5 gallons of 93. That's the biggest container I had. Now I know you're supposed to use the approved container. Don't tell nobody. We're gonna be all right, you know? That's 93. We got to get every last drop. All right, so I started putting coolant in the car, and for whatever reason, old girl is not having a good time right now. So basically, I have 2 coolant leaks. They're both major leaks. The first one being, every small block Ford guy knows that sometimes you get a motor that likes to live with a little coolant right there in that pocket. It's just like a little valley on the timing cover, whatever. Sometimes the thermostat housing will weep. That's not the case this time. You can't see it, but there is a bolt hole down there. It's threaded and tapped and everything that serves literally no purpose. But because it wants to live there, it basically gives the cooling system a free-for-all to just flood that pocket on the timing cover. I'll put a picture here. So because of that, I don't know, this is an LMR timing cover, so I'm gonna have to figure out a solution for that. I'm gonna try talking to them and see what they have to say about it, or I might just have to get a new timing cover altogether. The other thing is, some of you guys might know, behind the water pump, well, like there's multiple layers of stuff here. So you have your timing cover, you have a gasket, you have a backing plate to your water pump, and then another gasket, and then the water pump. You might not be able to see. So, timing cover blue, gasket, right? Water pump, backing plate, gasket, and then the water pump itself. So you get 2 gaskets and a bunch of different metals sandwiched together here. So the area between the backing plate and the timing cover is just an empty void, right? There's nothing supposed to be in there. And there's a little slot at the bottom of it to like allow, I don't know, something to get in or out. But for whatever reason, the timing cover or the water pump, I don't know what the culprit is yet, is flooding that cavity and just dumping the coolant straight onto the balancer. I didn't even fire the car up. As soon as I started filling it, it just started profusely leaking everywhere. So, with that being said, I'm basically gonna have to pull the whole front accessory drive apart and start over and see what the culprit is. All right, so let's get everything ripped apart and see what we can find. All right, so I got everything pulled apart here, just kind of made quick work of it. Only took off what I had to. As you see, we got the alternator out of the way here. So, this was a total bonehead move on my part. I'm just gonna show you. It's not the right gasket. It's not the right gasket. So this was completely my bad. So as you can see, the orientations for the coolant passages are totally different from the timing cover. Now, water pump to timing cover, the ports line up, which is awesome. I didn't mess that up. We're still good here. I just need the correct gasket. So basically, what was happening was because the gasket wasn't matching the port here, it was allowing coolant to go right out of this hole, which is how we got coolant up in this trough area. And then the same thing over here, because this gasket didn't have the optimum sealing surface it needed, it was able to basically slither its way through here, intrude into this empty cavity that isn't supposed to have anything in it, and dump out of the front of the timing cover. Well, at least it's an easy fix. I have a bunch of extra gaskets on hand, so it's basically just about finding the right gasket. So thank God this is a quick fix. Alrighty, so it's all back together now. Everything's nice and tight and snug. Got a new gasket in here. Luckily, I had a assortment of water pump gaskets that I've been collecting over the years, and I had a couple extras. So I was able to get this back together pretty quickly with the correct gasket. So now I'm gonna go get more coolant and see if we got any more leaks. All right, so battery's hooked up, everything's good. We got coolant in the radiator. It's not puking, it's guts all over the floor. Let's try and start it. See if we can build some coolant temp here and attempt to at least burp the cooling system. Make sure it's in neutral. Parking brakes on. She's alive! right, so right now I'm letting the car do its cool down cycle just to help burp everything and whatnot. I usually do this. I'll burp it for a minute, shut it off, let it cool down a minute, top off fluid if it needs it, and then fire it back up for a bit. But car runs phenomenally. It could still use a little work as far as tuning goes, but it's there and it runs, and it actually runs pretty decent for everything being eyeballed as far as like ignition timing and setting the carb up out of the box and whatnot. So just a quick rundown on the basic entire setup for, I guess, powertrain. So for the engine, we have an 86 roller HO block, E7T casting with stock rotating assembly, nothing crazy. World Products Windsor Junior heads, 202 intake valves, 1.6 exhaust valves. Edelbrock, I think this is the Performer 289 intake. We got a Holley Street Warrior 600 carb, a Skip White HI distributor with the MSD 6AL guts in it, along with the ignition box here. And then we got a 3G alt conversion with a serpentine conversion. Now I know that these cars came factory with a serpentine drive, but mine was a V-belt, so I had to convert everything. No power steering, just bare bones. Again, water pump is from an 84 Lincoln Town car. This is the correct timing cover for this engine. Crank pulley is from a Fox body. Water pump pulley is from a, I want to say it's like a 87 Grand Marquis, so it's just kind of one I had laying around and ended up working out great. And then stock 3G alternator, pulley and alternator for a 94 to 95 V6 or 5-liter Mustang. So good little tidbits there, but everything is working. It's doing great. Car runs good. No more coolant leaks, so thankfully that water pump gasket issue was the only thing we had to worry about. The new eBay G Plus radiator hoses are holding up great. The old school aftermarket radiator with the contour fans are working phenomenally. So yeah, we're getting there. We ain't done yet, but we're a lot farther along than we were. So I'm super excited. It's nice to hear this car run and, you know, kind of go back to its former glory. So now that we got a lot of the major work buttoned up, there's still little things I need to do. Like I need to get the vacuum line for the distributor with the vacuum advance. I need to get the actual radiator hold down for this, because right now I just have zip ties because I had tossed the stock mounts because they didn't really fit anyway. I do have a temp gauge coming, so I've been working on a little gauge pod back there for the center console. Just kind of waiting for everything to show up. So once that's here, I can wire up the temp gauge and then get the center console back in the car. And then, yeah, once I get like the little engine bay stuff done, we can start knocking out body work again and get this thing painted, because it's time for this thing to hit the road like soon. So I'm super excited with the progress we made, and I'm super excited to see what this car is going to be when it's done. So thank you guys for tuning in for this episode and for sticking it out through the whole build. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.